Okay, gents, let's go up and down the table. Match week 27 preview predictions. You know the score. Let's start at the top. Liverpool heading to Nottingham Forest. Nick Mendola, what are you thinking about this one?
I mean, Liverpool could put me out there right now, and I might have a decent game, and I'm terrible at soccer. Like, there's a spirit there. Forest doesn't look great. Their rest is going to be equal because of the midweek action. Hard. In another world, you're predicting Forest to get something here. I don't live in that world, though. So I think this has Liverpool written all over it.
Yeah, I could see like a 2-1, 2-0, something like that. But they just have enough. Just a feeling of destiny right now, Liverpool, whoever they put out on the pitch.
As long as you got Gibbs White.
Let Jurgen Klopp's final stand farewell down, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got Gibbs White and you got Emily. I always screw up his name. You got two players healthy and he'll be inspired. I think he scored against his former club last time they got together. So I think there could be something in it. I don't pick against Liverpool anymore, just like I don't pick Man United to win.
That's pretty smart. And we're going next to Man City, Man United, Andy. We talked about it a lot this week. Big Manchester derby. All signs are pointing towards a City win. Can you make any case for Man United?
I probably could. I don't think it would be a great use of my or anybody else's time. I think at this point, and that's no disrespect to United, that's just the reality of the situation at the moment. I will highlight this, though, because we didn't get to it in our discussion about our deeper discussion about the game. A brutal stretch of fixtures for City beginning right now. They've got United, then they've got Liverpool, then they've got Arsenal in their next 3 Premier League games. And so I'm not saying a month from now we're going to know the outcome of the Premier League title race, but we might have a much clearer idea 3-4 weeks from now than I think we do now. So, but to begin that run, I think City will have a 2-0 win.
2-0 win. There you go. Pretty easy for City. Let's see how that one goes. And then Arsenal have Sheffield United. It could be pretty easy for them, Nick Mendola, because Sheffield United, bless them, we say that every week, just not strong enough to be in the Premier League this season, and Arsenal are scoring goals for fun. So big win for the Gunners.
6-game winning streak. Combined scoreline is 25-3. That's insane. That's City in its prime numbers. Arsenal lose this game, and I don't know, pick something crazy that I have to do on the show next week, because I just don't think there's much going at Sheffield United right now. I don't know how they get up for this game and have that spirit to get the job done, especially, let's look at Arsenal's had some time to itself. Also, this lines up well for that 25-3 to become 30-3.
So we're talking
Nick,
about
I'll send you a Chiefs hat to wear on the show next week.
Sure. Yeah, that's what I'll do. That's
perfect.
I'll shave a 15 into the side of my head.
Okay. I love
it's
that.
getting personal. Kansas City, Buffalo. It's getting personal now. All right, let's move on to the next one. Tottenham against Crystal Palace. Andy, I'm going to come to you. Tottenham, bit of a wobble. They've got players back, but just haven't really played well for a few weeks now. Crystal Palace, they're looking decent with Oliver Glasner coming in. Good win last time out. Some injury problems, obviously, but they're solid. Work well for his system. This is 2 managers who have quite different systems, but it works quite well generally. So, and it seems the players they have work well for the systems too. So this should be quite an intriguing tactical battle between Postecoglou and Glasner.
Yeah, a real kind of marker game maybe for both sides. For obviously Palace with making the managerial change, and we're pretty sure they're safe this season and they're not going to fall into a relegation battle, and they'll be around next year. So it's very much around building for next season, whereas at Spurs, it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of, we really like to finish in the top 4 of the season, and we think we're one of the 4 best teams in the Premier League based on what they did without a number of key players. And a lot of those guys have come back now, and they have struggled just a little bit performance-wise and certainly results. And that's just, again, and I've said this before, it's almost like preseason now for some of these clubs that have had so many players injured, and they're coming back and being reintegrated into the teams, because when they're out, the team becomes something completely different. They still have to play. They still have to get results. And Spurs did that kind of brilliantly without a number of key players. And so now they come back, and it's just about finding solutions. I think they get it done this weekend, but I think it's going to be tight most games for the rest of the season. But that will be good for them, I think. So I'll go 2-1 to Tottenham.
Yeah, that seems fair. Newcastle Wolves, Nick Mendola, what are you thinking this one? Because this, I don't know. Newcastle, defensive struggles, Wolves, ruthless on the counter, kind of sets up for a bit of a... Is it a shock if Wolves win away at St. James's?
No, it's not. That's the thing. It's not a shock. Wolves ahead of Newcastle on the table by a point. The only thing I think Newcastle have going for him is that Eddie Howe's done well with kind of a siege mentality. You could argue that maybe XG-wise they deserve to beat Blackburn, but they could have easily went out at midweek in the FA Cup. And it's at St. James Park, and the fans are still behind this project. They're still behind, I think, Eddie Howe to a certain extent. So that's the only thing. Honestly, I expect Wolves to get at least a point out of this. But I've seen enough out of Newcastle in the last couple of years that in this building, they're a different team. And this has been an even matchup. I mean, I think it was 5 straight fixtures went 1-1 or something like that for a couple of years here. So it's been a fun game between these two, and I guess as a Newcastle supporter, my hope is that the Cunha absence looks like it affects them more than it did last week.
Yeah, I feel like Newcastle are going to get over the line with this one.
I hope so.
Just to keep their European hopes sort of alive pretty much going into the final few months of the season, because injuries have been brutal for them. So I feel like they might just get the better of Wolves, but it's going to be very, very close. Fulham against Brighton. I was previewing this game for the website earlier this week. Brighton haven't won back-to-back Premier League games since September, which is pretty wild to me that we're, approaching March, the start of March. And they had such a great start to the season, but injuries, again, have hit them very hard. Europa League grind. They've done well to get into the last 16 where they faced Roma in that competition. But Fulham just got most of their players back fit now. A lot of their players, obviously, big win against Manchester United, full of confidence, a horrible team to play against. I kind of fancy Fulham to nick this one against Brighton, maybe 2-1, something like this. I think Brighton will give Fulham a lot of opportunities. They always do. And I just haven't seen that same zip. I mean, Adingra and Matoma coming back was great, and then Matoma's got injured again for Brighton. And it's just been so stop-start for them all season that I fancy Fulham to beat them. And it's not a reflection on Brighton. I think they're a very, very good team and the best of the rest, if you will. But just injuries haven't been kind to them. And it's almost better suited, I think, for them to focus on the Europa League for the rest of the season and just really prioritize on that under De Zerbi. Everton, West Ham, Andy, Moyes against Dyche, 2 very similar coaches in their philosophy. Are we going to see a tight, tense game playing out at Goodison? And obviously, big news for Everton this week, getting those 4 points back.
Will it be tight and tense? Yes, it will. On both sides. Who here has any idea what to make of West Ham at this point? Anybody?
Not me.
Is anybody going to take the ball in this game, Andy? You have possession.
Somebody has to.
You have possession.
Yeah, West Ham they draw 3, they lose 3, and they get absolutely waxed in those 3 that they lost, by the way. Combined 11-0 to Nottingham Forest, Arsenal, and Manchester United. So slightly understandable on a couple of those. But then they come out, was it on Monday, with just like they had never left, from last season when they're making their run in Europe. Like they looked brilliant against Brentford. And so I don't know what to make of them at the moment. I think that they're probably a little bit more well-suited to play against teams that are aggressive because of the way that they want to counterattack. And that's they're not going to find that against Everton. And so I kind of think that, I don't know, jokes aside, I don't know that much is going to happen in this game because neither one of these teams wants to take the risk that's going to cost them the result. And when neither team is willing to do that, you don't get a lot of action. So I'll go 1-1 and probably a couple goals from set pieces, 1 for each side.
Yeah, and the draw specialist Everton as well, right? So that makes perfect sense. But a big week for them off the pitch. Still have the other charge hanging over them. So let's see what happens. But give themselves a bit of breathing space in the relegation scrap. I'm going to go Brentford-Chelsea. A draw as well. I think probably 2-2. Chelsea are fragile right now. We saw them get through Leeds in the FA Cup, but lost to obviously Liverpool. Brentford will cause Chelsea problems with their direct nature. But again, Brentford really struggling a little bit. I think Thomas Frank, looking at the fixture schedule, is probably a bit concerned. Ivan Toney has shown some glimpses as he came back of how important, obviously, the finishing we know. But there's so many big players missing for Brentford throughout the season. I think it's just starting to add up a little bit now. And I'd be a little bit nervous if I was them heading into the the final few months of the season. And obviously, we don't know the situation with Forest and Everton with potential points deductions, but Luton as well will drag other teams in. So I think a draw between Brentford and Chelsea. And we talked about Luton there. They host Aston Villa, Nick Mendola. Villa, again, kind of gone under the radar, but they've almost really cemented fourth spot there, which is an incredible achievement.
It is. And given what we saw with, you talk about blueprints. I'm not that everybody can be Haaland and De Bruyne, but I think Douglas Luiz and Ollie Watkins might be looking at this game. And I think Andy wrote about this. Leon Bailey, I think he called him the prototypical. It was you, the prototypical Unai Emery signing, and development. And I thought that was brilliant. He's one of the very few players in the league who is right up there in goals and assists. And this is someone who, when in Germany, it was a tantalizing talent who needed that discipline about where to be on the field. And guess what? Surprise! Unai Emery's taught him how to do that. He is one of the revelations of the season.
Yeah, brilliant. Andy, last game, Burnley against Bournemouth, and I think we all agree that Villa are going to beat Luton. But
yeah,
Luton will put up a scrap. But Andy, go on Burnley, Bournemouth.
Bournemouth, 9 games without a win to start the season, 7 games without a loss right in the middle, and now 7 games without a win again. What an incredibly up and down and just confusing season it has been for them. And obviously they had managerial stuff that went on right before the start of the season. So to just be in the position that they're at right now, I think that they're quite happy with their spot, and the fact that they get to, we would all think, snap the current streak and get back to winning ways against a team like Burnley this weekend. I think they've got to be pretty happy with that. I think it'll be close though. 2-1, I think, to Bournemouth in the end, but they have shown, aside from Burnley being super comfortable being themselves and playing with possession this season, Bournemouth have shown a bit of a ruthlessness at times, and I think that that's something that just completely undoes Burnley. So I'll go with the Cherries in this one.
Yeah, there you go. Up and down like a roller coaster on the south coast of England. That's Bournemouth. Gents, thanks so much for your time this week. Thanks everyone for watching. Up and down the table, match week 27. We previewed it, give you our predictions. Head over to Pro Soccer Talk for all the latest information on how to watch the games, live analysis during and after with video highlights. We'll have you covered. It's going to be another great weekend in the Premier League as we get towards a very pivotal stage of the season. Thanks again for watching. Enjoy the games.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock. And be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you there.